But it looks like so far a lot of you are starting to get creative with AI. I love that. This is the perfect event to be at. We're going to get started in just a minute, give folks a chance to hop on in. I know we're right at the top of the hour. Tatiana is sharing some Meredith love in the chat already. Hi, Alan. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Kayla. Hi, Debbie.
Hey.
So good to see so many familiar faces. For those of you who are just hopping in, please go ahead and answer those poll questions. I'm going to share those out in just a second, and we are actually going to hop right into our content because we have a very packed agenda today. So let's give folks another 30 or so seconds to hop on in. Hi, Liz. Hi, Kent. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Chris from Balboa Park. I live a couple blocks from Balboa Park. That's so fun. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Marco. All right, let me end this poll. Going once, going twice. If you haven't had a chance to answer yet, go ahead and answer those questions now. All right, I'm going to share this out with you so you can see what others in the room are saying about their AI journey. And we have so many people here at their first Instrumentl event. This is so fun, y'all. I am so happy to have you in the room and especially at today's event. This is going to be a really, really good one. So without further ado, hi, everyone, and welcome to today's workshop. This is the very first event in our new AI for Grant Pro series. We are kicking it off with a little party. Today's session is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to take a big bird's eye view of AI and explore all the ways it can support us as grant professionals. We're going to cover the why, the what, a little bit of the how, pulling from the best practices and strategies that real nonprofit professionals are leveraging. And today is all about building a shared foundation. So understanding where AI can serve us best and why integrating it into our work is a powerful part of our professional development. For any of our first timers, I know there's quite a few of you in the room here today. Instrumentl is the most loved all-in-one grants platform for prospecting, tracking, and management, and we currently help over 4,000 nonprofits and grant consultants save time in finding and applying for more grants. Before we dive in, I just want to introduce myself. Some of you have not met me before. I am Nia. I am an events and community manager here at Instrumentl, and I actually come from the nonprofit world. So prior to this, I worked in rainforest conservation and research. If anybody's in rainforest work, let me know in the chat. I'd love to I'd love to see who's here. My colleague Rachel is also in the room with us, and you'll see her in the chat box answering some questions. And I want to introduce my fantastic co-host today. You know her, you love her, you are always asking for more of her. So I'm very pleased to welcome Meredith Noble.
Hey, but I'm having the same problem that many of the folks are in chat where I don't see slides, but some people see slides. What are we missing?
Are you seeing slides, Meredith?
I'm not. Hi, Francine. What's up? Yeah, looks like some people do and some don't. What are we missing? This must be some button.
I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna start resharing, and
Am
let's
I
see if
really the
that
only one
fixes
that
it.
doesn't?
The
Great.
classic turn it off and turn it back on again. Let's see if we can get this working for y'all.
So crazy, really. There we go. We're back in play. Okay,
Turn it off and
cool.
turn it back on again.
Yeah, classic trick. Right on. Cool. Well, hey, it's nice to see so many grant writing unicorns here. What's up? I think a lot of you know me, but here's some fun facts. I thought we would do some of those today. So I'm a fifth generation cattle rancher from Wyoming. I live in Alaska. My passion project is I'm working on building a tiny house camp near Wrangell St. Elias National Park. So that's really my heart and like where I'm having a lot of fun. But when I'm not doing that, I am like my pride and joy is the Grant Writers Collective, where we teach people how to write grants and make money doing it.
Y'all, I see we're still trying to figure out the screen share in the chat.
Oh, weird.
You should see on your Zoom screen at the top, there should be a little tab that says Nia's screen. If you're not on that tab, go ahead and click that. That'll let you see the screen. If that fixes it for you, let me know in the chat. It's just a funky Zoom thing. Sometimes it resets it. Okay, seems like that's solving it for most people. Okay,
Right
great.
on.
Good way to kick
Cool.
off our big tech topic, right? So
Yeah.
some quick FYIs for today's event. It is about 60 minutes long, including a little chance to get in the driver's seat with AI at the end. For folks who are tuning in on YouTube, Rachel is keeping an eye on the chat there. So you're very much part of the conversation, even if you're not in the Zoom chat. This is being recorded. You will get the video shared with you via email tomorrow. So don't fret if you miss a slide, anything like that. And if you need to step away at any point, feel free to do so. But I do want you to stick around till the end because we have a very cool raffle prize today. For a chance to get really in the weeds with AI, one lucky attendee will win free access to LearnGrantWriting's AI Besties course. So this includes 5 modules all about GPTs, prompt engineering, everything you need to help you become a true grant writing ninja. And this course is worth almost $600. So this is a very special raffle prize. We're so excited that the LearnGrantWriting team is sharing this with us. So thank you, Meredith, and thank you first of all for building this out, right?
Mm-hmm.
For
It
everyone
was a
else in the room,
huge
we
undertaking.
may have a very exclusive discount code to share too, but more on that later. After our hour here today is up, you will have learned 9 ways grant professionals are leveraging chatbots to streamline their workflow. You'll ask 3 simple but key questions to gauge if your org or your team or your clients, whoever you're working with, are really ready to integrate AI into existing systems and practices. And you'll get a sneak peek at some brand new instrumental capabilities rolling out. You'll have a chance to take one of these for a spin to put some of our AI strategies to practice today. So here's what our agenda looks like. It's going to be a tight one. We have so much we're trying to cover. I want to emphasize once more, today's event is designed to be a bird's eye view of all things AI in the world of grants. We'll have a lot of opportunities over the next few weeks to get hands-on with some of these concepts, but we're going to start by building a shared foundation, getting excited about some of the ways AI can be an asset to us. And okay, full disclosure, we're going to do our best to save time for a couple minutes of Q&A at the end, but with this agenda, I'm not totally confident that's going to happen. If we don't end up getting to this, we'll do a whole separate Q&A video or a follow-up answering some of those most pressing questions. So all of that aside, let's dive right in. Let's get this out of the way. AI is the best thing to have happened in this world. It is speeding up how we work. It's eliminating the need for tedious manual tasks. It's helping us do more with less. It's removing the need for humans to do this work, right? And oh, wait, it's removing the need for humans? Okay, back up. AI is actually the worst thing to have happened. We're losing authenticity, we're losing creativity, we're out of touch with each other. We're not even thinking about the human on the other side of the screen anymore, right? Everything you've ever trained for, it's, AI is gonna replace you doing that job next quarter. But then again, there is something very special about typing in every pantry item and leftover vegetable in my kitchen and being told exactly what sort of 5-star dish I'm going to cook up for dinner, right? So, what is going on? What is AI really? And I think to answer this question, we have to keep it simple. At the end of the day, AI is just a tool. And like any tool, it's going to come down to why and how we use it. So it might surprise some of us to learn that AI really started in 1956. That's when the term artificial intelligence was formed and a discipline around it started. But back then, AI was used almost exclusively for research and in academia. It was not available for consumers. And then we just fast forward 50 years, a lot happened in that window. We're not going to get into it. But in the 2000s is when AI did show up for consumers, actually first in one of the areas where we as humans really need solid recommendations, and that's within dating. Sites like OkCupid started leveraging AI to help us find great dates and partners. And then Netflix, Spotify, Alexa came in around the same time too. So AI was suddenly coming into our homes in a very fun but significant way with movie, music, shopping recommendations, things like voice control. And then it was 2022. And something major happened. We, as consumers, were introduced to a totally new and very powerful type of AI, which is generative AI. So now our AI can generate writing, images, video, audio, so on. Think of ChatGPT or Claude, which you're probably familiar with, right? So AI is now able to be a sidekick for us, not just in an algorithm somewhere on Spotify, but actually as a malleable, trainable, accessible, and tangible tool. So with that quick history lesson out of the way, let's turn to the world of grants, because as we all know, our needs are very specific, and therefore how we use AI is going to be very specific. The grant life cycle, it's a long one. Some might say it never ends. Broadly speaking, we have the pre-award phase. This includes finding opportunities, digging up the details, getting in touch with funders, drawing up plans, writing proposals, and then that period of waiting with bated breath to hear if we sealed the deal. And then when we win the grant, we can sit back, relax, everything's over, we're done. No, we're not. Another bait and switch, y'all. I'm getting you today. Now we're in the post-award phase. So now we have to do things like track where money goes, evaluate impact, write and submit reports. The reality is, this is like 15 different disciplines in one career path, right? And this is why I love talking about AI because there are so many ways it can plug into your journey based on what's actually on your plate, what your org structure looks like, what you enjoy spending time doing versus what you really just want to outsource and speed up. So to kick us off, I would love to hear from you all in the chat. I know in our intro poll, a lot of you said you're getting creative with AI, you're already using it. So I want to hear from you. Where does AI currently plug into your workflow? Are there certain tasks that you have already outsourced to Mr. Claude or good old GPT? First drafts, grant research says Meredith. Meredith, what are you doing in the chat? Writing, research, editing to condense. Okay, email replies. Love that. Email replies take me so much longer than they should. So we're already seeing from the chat that there are very many ways AI can improve the way we work. I know many of us in the room are already using AI, perhaps reluctantly, maybe enthusiastically, maybe just a little bit. But all of us showed up today because we know this matters, right? We know this is something worth learning. And what I love about AI is that it's an incredibly accessible tool. I want us to shift from the mindset that, this is something scary or hard we have to catch up to, and instead see it as a huge opportunity to reimagine how we work, the value we bring to our organizations and clients, and how we set ourselves apart by building these technical and honestly essential skills. So I'm going to hand it over to Meredith to lead us through this next section, because if there's one thing Meredith is especially good at, and there are very many things here. It's helping grant professionals recognize the value we create for ourselves when we lean into opportunities like this and invest in our growth and skill set. So Meredith, take it away.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna poach the slide share then. Here we are. Can you see my screen? Wait, can y'all?
Yeah, we can. If y'all
Cool.
can't see it,
I gotta find
remember
the chat
Meredith
because you,
Noble's tab at the top.
yeah. Cool. And I gotta find chat because I love it. Alrighty. So here's my philosophy on this because we have been in the thick of it if you have followed our journey for the last 2 years of trying to build our own, for the collective only software from partnerships that we've done with other people, all of it. Like we have been in the thick of it. And what I've taken away from the whole process is that, if it'll click through, we got to learn how to fish. What I have found is that if you try to just use a tool, whether we're talking about Instrumentl's new super exciting AI tool called Apply or otherwise, it it's not necessarily going to be a great experience if you don't understand the foundation and fundamentals of how to work with AI to get good results. And I think what we've done is we've entered into a new era, and I'm going to talk about why it's so important to really embrace what we've got going on here. But first, I want to talk about myths or fears. So I saw someone threw in an article about environmental impact. And so I actually dug into this because this was something that came up 2 weeks ago when we first launched our AI grant writing course. And there's a lot of fear that's just eating up a massive amount of energy. And I think many of us are just visualizing these like server farms in Cheyenne, Wyoming that are gobbling up electricity. Another tippity top concern was just data privacy and security. Like, hey, is it training on my sensitive data? Job replacement anxiety, 100%. Lots of people feeling that. And then bias and ethical concerns because, well, spoiler, AI does reflect societal biases because it was built by humans and humans are biased. Quality control is another factor. Like, what if it says something completely inaccurate? It's making up research that's not real and I look like an idiot? Or, is this going to be really expensive and time consuming to implement? The fear of the unknown is for real. Like, am I old enough to not have to actually learn this? Can I just ride out into the sunset? And I'm like, for me, no, I'm in my 30s, right? So who else is like feeling some of these fears? Are you resonating with any of them? And then I think the final one that certainly hit my heart was just replacing human creativity, thinking, is this just going to dull the creative edge? Everything's going to start to feel very monotonous and cookie cutter. And who the heck wants that? So if anyone has felt some of these, yeah, I'm seeing in the chat that many have. Totally, totally warranted. But let's bust through those and have a closer look. So, the energy use for any of us to take a 10-minute shower is roughly equivalent to the energy consumed by over 6,667 ChatGPT queries. And I think I've made quite a few queries in ChatGPT, and I am nowhere near probably even maybe 1,000. Who knows? So I just want to bring some awareness that if you think about like, remember blockchain had like the same fears too, like, oh my gosh, it's just so it's going to consume all the energy in the world. Like the reality is what's bad for the environment is us human beings consuming loads and loads and loads of things. So if we want, what we really want to be thinking about is how can I reduce my energy consumption in the ways that are best for you, whatever that looks like, because all of us have different ways that we can contribute to that. But I just feel like a lot of this has been very sensationalized, frankly, by the media and a little bit blown out of proportion. So I just want you to consider that. That said, yes, when you aggregate, it's just like not recycling. If no one recycled in the world, then that aggregates and adds up. So we want to certainly be thoughtful about what we're using. Okay, so data privacy and security was another hot topic. This one emerged right away. I mean, everybody was concerned about this. And so actually most of the tools heard you, the market heard you. So like Anthropic, Microsoft, et cetera, and they are not using your information to train on. That said, um, I have a sample data privacy policy. I am happy to give anyone if you feel like you want that. Just DM me, probably find me on LinkedIn and I can just give it to you. And in there, we also include links to every one of the data privacy policies of the major tools. The only tool that does not have your data privacy in mind, and this should come as no surprise, can you guess? Can anyone guess who kind of has the crappiest data privacy policy? Gemini. So Google, right? No, ChatGPT has a great data security policy. So one of the best tools to use. So anyway, just recognize if you want that, just DM me and I'll give it to you. The other thing I think we get really confused about is we confuse the word augmentation with automation. Most of us are using AI tool for augmentation. It's helping me. It's a thought partner. It's like a coworker sitting next to me versus an automation that completely removes me from the process. And if you think about a lot of the things that we do as grant writers, some of them frankly suck. They're not fun. They're what I call soul-sucking tasks, okay? Like I'm a pretty good project manager, but following up from a meeting where I know I need to send out the action items of what we're all going to do and get that into Asana so I can remember the tasks, like yeah, I'm happy to let an AI take that over, right? I didn't really enjoy doing it anyway. So just recognize that what's actually happening here is that the workplace values employees that know how to use AI effectively. We're already seeing proof of that in HR hiring data. So it's not about the removal of you, but it is about being able to show that, hey, I know how to use these tools effectively. I'm not going to send the data policy email this way. You reach out to me by LinkedIn and then I'll give it to you that way. Just so you know, I would lose stuff in the chat. Anyway, so bias and ethical concerns. I mean, this is the piece that you, as you start to use different tools, you'll learn how they the different biases that the different tools have. And one of the ways we kind of tested this was asking the question, why should men rule the world? And then we asked, why should women rule the world? And the answers were obviously very different depending on what tool you asked. So it was really, really interesting. So if you want to kind of study up, like where do these tools land on their kind of, maybe you could say their values, just ask some controversial questions and you'll get an idea. Okay, so next one would be quality control. This is a really big one for me. So when people think I'm going to be replaced, grant writers aren't going to be needed, here is the kicker. If you don't know what great work is, it doesn't matter if you're using AI tools or not, because the distinction of recognizing if it's good work, if it's a good response, comes from you fundamentally understanding what it means to be a good grant writer. So you still have to be great in the profession. There's a lot of concerns about cost, but the reality is like for a $20 a month membership, like there's no world in which we could get software at those prices and you can get a ton of value out of it. So like it's extremely low cost. And I do think this fear of the unknown is totally legit. I'm actually a late adopter, which might come as a surprise to you, but I was raised, like I said, on a cattle ranch, right? And we were like the last 2% of ranchers, I swear, to move from loose stack hay to bales. And I mean, I was a teenager, like bale and not baling hay, like doing like the old school way of haying. And so we were like the laggard adopters. And I can tell you that so I get that perspective and I get the perspective of being early. But the thing that you need to really think about is like just start small with one use case, and you'll build that confidence. And then the last thing is like really what makes it powerful when you start having fun is realizing you're supercharging your creativity, like getting that grunt work out of the way so you can have more time for what you love. So why is mastering AI in 2025 a must? Because I didn't feel this way last year, I'll be honest. I was kind of like, play, have fun, be curious. But what's interesting is does anyone remember from economics class this little curve called the technology adoption curve? You have your early adopters, your like the masses, and then we have like late adopters and then our laggards, right? So we are at the point where adoption of AI has crossed that critical tipping point of about 20 to 30%, where growth starts to just accelerate massively. And all of a sudden now, AI utilization is a competitive necessity rather than a place for just the early adopters. So, the data is really backing this up. So, a McKinsey survey indicated that 78% of organizations are utilizing AI in at least one business function, and that's up from 55% in 2024, which in the scheme of like technology adoption world, that is quantum, right? A significant 92% of nonprofits feel unprepared for AI. 92, y'all. That's like pretty much everybody, with 60% expressing uncertainty and mistrust. So if we're feeling mistrust, our attitude has a huge influence on the experience we're going to have. And then lastly, this one really got my attention. Organizations with annual budgets over 1 million, they're adopting AI at twice the rate of smaller nonprofits, 66 versus 34. So is anyone able to use your critical thinking skills and figure out what this means? I mean, it's essentially like pretty easy to figure out. Our small nonprofits are going to be getting even less resources because they're not getting the efficiency gains the larger nonprofits are, stretching that gap even further. And then because nonprofits on the whole are already behind the business adoption world, we're then stretching that gap, right? Like, so there really is this an inequity can occur if not leaning into adoption. Whereas when we do, we actually can flip that because the little guy can be playing ball with a fraction of the resources. So here's kind of my best arguments for going pro this year when I zoomed out and really thought about like, how can I convince my skeptics that this is going to be awesome and we're going to have a good time? One, when you have a victory, when you start to have victories where you're like, holy smokes, I just wrote that letter of inquiry in 30 minutes and it is bombshell awesome. You build a lot of confidence and competence with AI and you start to have fun. It's like you've got this personality on the other side that you get to work with because grant writing is often very lonely. Next, I actually want to encourage you to not think of AI as a tool or as an expense because do I want to learn software? No, that is boring and we're old dogs sometimes. We don't like to learn new tricks. So instead, the way I like to think about it is AI is a skill. And I do like learning skills because skills is how we get paid more and skills is how we just like fulfill kind of the desire in our like innately in our human selves to become better and learn new things and not be bored. If you're feeling overwhelmed or like you have to learn, or I should do this, or I need to, you hearing the words have, should, need, I really need you to tune into if you're using that language. Then, hey, that's normal, but I want you to try to see if you can't shift that a bit of like, okay, how do I actually want to feel while I'm working? So I can take the parts that are energy draining, the soul sucking pieces, right, and replace those or at least like lower them so that we can have a more joyful experience. Like I want you to keep having fun with this. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but I really think that some of us are we and I'm so guilty of this is that we can just take ourselves way too seriously. Like we got to have fun with this process. So think about what it is that allows you to take yourself less seriously, channel that playfulness. Mine personally is wearing bright colored wigs. If you take my AI course, you'll see that I wear one from a time or two because it's just my reminder of like, okay, yes, feels like it's stressful and it's a lot to learn, but we can keep it fun. So is that compelling for what's happening on an economic level, sort of like mass adoption level, but also what's happening for you? Like, I'm getting some yeses. Okay, cool. So good deal. Yay, lots of yeses. I'm not like, and if you feel no, you can push back. I'll work on my critical thinking skills to be more persuasive. Cool. Okay. So here's what's fascinating about grant writers. Are grant writers just grant writers? No, right? Like we do a million things. And that I would say that this list is but a fraction of it, right? What about all the project management? Where is the cat herding task? Because that is definitely a task related to grant writing. Am I right? Right. So there is a lot of different things that you do as a grant writer. Frankly, I always say that once I get to the grant application, that's the easy part because there's so much work you have to do to get there. So when you think about all of the different aspects that go into the grant lifecycle from pre-award to the application to post-award, I want you to think about this little flow chart. So like sketch this or take a screenshot or you'll get your slides. But this is something that we actually got from one of our business coaches that we really, really admire. And I want to walk through this quickly as a way for you to think about how am I going to adopt AI in a way that's not overwhelming and actually effective. So number one, I want to find repetitive work, the stuff that I don't enjoy doing, right? Like sending out meeting summary notes after having a meeting. Do I have confidence in the process? Like, is the process really straightforward? Like, I know how to have the meeting, send out the meeting notes. Like, this is really straightforward. How frequently am I doing this? Am I doing this seriously once a year? Or is this something that's happening on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis? How much pain is involved in the process? Is this really manual? Is it time consuming? Are there a lot of people involved? And if the answer is I'm highly confident, there's a fair bit of frequency and there is pain, then that's a good time to plan automation and figure out, or, how can I involve AI to help me out? I want to look at, is human interaction required, right? Or are we talking augmentation or automation? If we make a mistake, is it going to make us look dumb? This is a legit question you can ask yourself because you're like, is this going to make us look bad in front of a funder or in front of a donor, right? And where can we use AI in this process, and then we can build the automation. So I'm going to give you an example. So we just built this AI grant writing course, right? And we now have a certification process that goes with it. But I did want that certification process to be different than what it's like inside the collective, where we have a coach manually reviewing your work and giving you feedback. And like, it's very manual. But I was like, okay, I want it to be less manual because it's expensive. And so, but the problem was we actually weren't confident in the process because this is brand new, have never, issued certificates for professional grant writers using AI. And, what if like it pulls their name and you know how sometimes people put their names in like all caps or like all lowercase or they didn't spell it right? Like, would that make us look dumb that we just gave you a certificate with the wrong name? Yes. Right. So there were issues that actually prevented us from saying, yeah, we can build an automation. Instead, we're like, oh, we can build augmentation to help out, but we need a human involved until we're confident in the process. Does that make sense? Is everyone kind of seeing the different here? Um, yes, 100%, Gabrielle. I will change that. I took this screenshot from my from that program and I will change it. So yes, thank you. Thank you for calling me out on that. Appreciate it. And we will change it. Can this just make us look silly? Okay, everyone on board? So I'm going freestyle. Nia and Rachel, they got to deal with this sometimes with me. So one of my favorite ways to augment, getting yourself out of those repetitive tasks are, have we built a custom GPT before? Has anyone done it? I'm seeing a lot of not yet, some me's, a lot more nope yets, or no, nope yets, not yet. Okay, so here's the power version of this. The cool thing about custom GPTs is that it's a personalized AI that's trained for your nonprofit or your clients, depending on how you work with organizations. And it's got custom intros, it's training in your voice, specialized knowledge, and it gets a unique name, right? So like it gets to be this tool that you're using. So we built 4 besties, and one of them I'm going to show you today, which is Winnie the Grant Writer. Okay, so the good news is it's actually not that hard to build a custom GPT. You can do this in 15 minutes. But the bad news is that it is in the details, y'all, that makes all the difference. So like I built this custom GPT you kind of see a little screenshot of called Nora Writes. Um, I love the name Nora. My parents didn't name me Nora, but I think if they had it, like it was between Meredith and Nora, and I just like it. So I use Nora whenever I can. But anyway, so I wanted Nora to help me write email copy. And so I uploaded 82 emails that I've written in the past, just like all pasted into a single Google Doc. And then I was like, this should be great. Like, this is my writing voice. This is like great sample materials. And then the writing was sucking. And I could not figure out why Nora Writes wasn't doing a better job until I realized, oh, I didn't put in headers and I didn't give good instructions. And there was like formatting actually makes a huge difference on how the AI understands to read what you're presenting. And so I now understand all of that and was able to completely rebuild it. But those are the nuances that make the difference between if you're like, I don't get it, my writing is better, and like, wow, this custom GPT is kicking butt. So, um, as a serious grant writer, I would invite you to want to know how to build these quality custom GPTs. And you don't need to overkill it, but it's really nice to have a few. One, this gives you a contained environment per, like I said, per nonprofit or per client. It solves that problem of AI forgetting where you feel like you have to repeat yourself, and that's annoying, especially if you're working on big projects. Like I said, you're building this foundational knowledge that just becomes more and more valuable as you go. And then you're building your squad, you're building your part-time team, and you become this manager of a group of essentially like almost staff that are working for you, right? So I'm actually want to go back real quick. Do I have time? Can I get like 4 more minutes? Where are we at?
Go for it, Meredith.
Okay, I talk fast, so y'all hanging in there. Um, okay. I felt bad that I talked fast, and then I went to this conference where this chick that teaches all about LinkedIn talked even faster than me by like 2 or 3x. And I was like, well, if she talks that fast, then I'm not that bad. So here we are. Okay, so here I am. I'm in my chat GPT. Can everyone see pretty well? Okay. So this is me inside Winnie the Grant Writer. We didn't have time for me to like type this manually, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you an old one. But so I've started getting involved with this local nonprofit out where my little dream tiny house camp is going to be, and they're trying to get a playground funded. So I had this project material, kind of this background information on the playground, and I uploaded that and I said, okay, the goal is I want to complete a grant application, and the task is I want you to review the overview. And then success is telling me if you have questions and summarizing what you learn. Okay. So rolling down, it's like, great. It summarized the project. It's just like making sure, I want to make sure you understand before we start writing. Okay. So here we go. Who we serve, the project justification, key takeaways, all of that. And then it said, hey, you want me to start writing it? And I'm like, not yet. So my next thing I did was upload guidelines for the grant application and the grant application itself. And I said, the goal is understand the grant requirements clearly so we can do this together. Then the task is going to be review it and confirm that you understand it by creating a checklist. So that's what we did. We built this beautiful checklist, which I could have copied and pasted right into Asana if it wasn't so straightforward, right? It's nice. So here we go. I got my summary of what I need. I was like, okay, good deal. What they don't fund, all that's wonderful. Then they're like, you want me to draft the letter? I'm like, hang tight. Then I said, because I kind of broke my own rules, which if you guys know that I'm a really big fan of funding strategy, is that I want you to know, you want to know usually what you're doing with the funder ahead of time, but I actually didn't. So this was kind of like we were just rolling in and I didn't know anything about the Rural Cat Foundation. So I said, hey, I need you to review the funder's website, summarize what you learn to inform our strategy, because I actually didn't know how much I should apply for. I know what I wanted to ask for, but I didn't really know yet. So this was good. It gave me like the mission, the key takeaways on strategy. And then I was like, what's the average award size? That was really helpful because I was planning on applying for about 5. And it's like, oh, actually, the average goes to 10. I'm like, oh, good. I can ask for a little more. So then I was like, all right, please, now we're ready to go. Draft this proposal letter in Canvas, which is like editing in a Google Doc, and then follow the outlines that were provided earlier to a T. And then this is where so I'm going to pop this up so you can see it. So this is what it's like to work in Canvas, where doesn't this look like you're operating in a Word doc or a Google Doc? Like it's really nice. So let's say like, actually what I didn't like originally was I felt like the economic section was pretty bad. Like I need something else to rewrite. What am I going to do here? Let's just do, well, give me something else. Let's see. Um, I'm gonna hover over this, and then I can ask ChatGPT to help me rewrite just this section alone. Like, um, let's see. So like, what else can I do to strengthen this section? Make any edits you recommend, which isn't like the best question, but you get what I mean, because I'm actually happy with the application. So it's going to be over here thinking, like, I didn't like the economic data. I didn't have good census information at the time. So we workshopped that together, and that's how I did strengthen this originally. So here we go. We just got to rewrite it right here based on my instruction, which you get what I'm saying now? Are you guys seeing how like you can kind of workshop this? If you don't do this in Canvas, it rewrites the entire thing top to bottom, and that can be just a pain and slow. So it's really nice to be able to just work through this right off the bat. Now, what I wish I had done is actually pulled up the final version so you could see it because this wasn't the final version. This was a decent draft. And then I got it into Google and I finished it off myself, right? So I hope you see that. How do I get out of this, Batty? Close. Okay. So you can see though how I was able to at least get to like a pretty bomb first draft really, really quickly, get it over to them, get it to the funder, ask. This is the part where AI can't do that to you, right? Where I took it to the funder and I said, please review our draft application. And that was where we found out little nuances like they want to have the language of a legacy project or, hey, actually, can you change how you present the budget information, right? So you can see like the pieces where the human is invaluable. We got to spend more time on that to then modify the final proposal that went in, which I wish I had pulled up ahead of time so you could see the difference. But it was close, right? And this whole process took, I mean, literally beginning to end, learning about the funder, writing the LOI, the whole bit. It was at least under, 30, 45 minutes, right? So there you have it. But I got to rally and give them their time back. So we are giving away a free seat, and I do have a generous discount code for Instrumentl people because they're our fave. So we'll give that out at the end. And but yes, it's a brand new course. We just built it. It's the first time we've offered something outside of the collective. And inside this course will always be the latest training on what Instrumentl is building with their apply tool. And when I've been in apply, dinking around and playing with it myself, I have to tell you that to get the best results and understand what apply is doing, you really still need this foundational knowledge, not just relying on the tool to do all the work for you. So, like for instance, apply needs you to upload context and so that it can write well. And if you don't know how to give good context, then apply can't do its job. So it was just little things like that where I was like, oh, these two are very complementary. They play ball nicely. Okay, sweet. I'm going to try to catch up on questions, but in the meantime, I'm going to give you that screen back, Nia.
Thanks, Meredith. Let
Yeah.
me replace my current share here. So, folks, before I dive back into my slides here, I just want to call something out. First of all, remember, if you can't see my slides, there's a tab at the top that says Nia's screen. Make sure you're clicking that. We have a lot of questions about okay, but how do I build this GPT? So Meredith's course is a great opportunity if you want to take a real deep dive on that. We're going to have a raffle. One of you will win that course for free. For everybody else, we have a discount. We also have much shorter workshops coming up all about building custom GPTs, prompt engineering, more AI things for grant writers. So you can also RSVP for those. We have one coming up in May. We have another coming up in June. Like I said, this is just the first part of our AI series. So thanks, Meredith, for kicking us off with that one. I know we always get questions about custom GPTs, so we wanted to start off with that. Writing, refining proposals is by far the most popular AI strategy we see. It's such a repetitive task in the world of grants, right? But all of that said, there are so many other things that you can use AI for outside of grant writing. So we're gonna go rapid fire here. Y'all thought Meredith was talking fast. Let's see if I can beat her on this one. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna try to go as slowly as possible, but these are rapid fire. We're not gonna break down step by step the strategy. I'm just gonna give you some ideas of what else you can be using AI for. And I wanna emphasize, while I'm sharing ideas for how to work with GPT on these, efficiency and alignment is always gonna come down to having a trained GPT. So think of these as tips to embed in your overall strategy on top of optimizing a GPT, however you're doing that. And as I run through these, let me know in the chat, are you already doing this? Is this a brand new idea? Do you have a better suggestion? So first one, keeping with the topic of writing, one big way AI can help is by identifying gaps in clarity and strengthening how we position our projects for funders. So here's the thing, when you live and breathe your work every day, it is easy to assume everyone understands why it matters, but funders often don't have that same baseline knowledge, and they definitely don't have the same emotional investment yet. So you want to ask yourself, what do you know, like the back of your hand, that a funder might not? Are you using internal jargon or field-specific language without realizing it? And I'll give you an example here. When I was working in rainforest conservation, we had to do this a lot, and this was manually. This was before GPT. So we might explain a project by saying we're tracking frog populations, which to us made perfect sense. But to a family foundation in Texas, tracking frog populations is like not immediately a priority. They're like, wait, what? But when we reframe it as enhancing biodiversity conservation initiatives and explain that frog populations are key indicators of global ecosystem health, then the importance clicks, right? It becomes part of a much bigger story. So this is where AI can be a powerful thought partner in helping to make our mission, our projects more broadly accessible. Feel free to screenshot this slide, y'all. Like I said, I'm rapid firing through a bunch of other AI strategies you can embed today. Following the same thread, AI can help you identify adjacent and expanded areas of impact that you may not already be focusing on in your proposals. So what I mean here, if you're providing after-school programming for 25 children, the immediate impact is clear, right? Kids are receiving educational support. But when you step back and look at ripple effects, that impact is much bigger. You're also empowering, 25 to 50 guardians by giving them the opportunity to work more hours, pursue education, simply stabilize their household. And it doesn't stop there, right? Stronger household stability can lead to greater workforce participation, economic growth, reduced strain on social services in the broader community. So we want to look at our projects critically and ask, how does our work make the entire community stronger? And what long-term impact does our work have on preventing future issues? And GPT can be a great tool when trying to identify these secondary or tertiary impact metrics. And honestly, it can even help quantify something that you don't have concrete data on just yet. What I mean by that is if you've only collected data on how many kids you're helping, and you're like, well, I don't know the economic impact of, 50 guardians now having jobs that they can go to in the afternoon. You can ask ChatGPT to calculate that for you. And obviously, these are going to be very ballpark figures, but it's just a great place to start thinking about that ripple effect impact. This tip actually comes to us from a wonderful Instrumentl user, Danette. If any of you were at our faith-based funding workshop a couple weeks ago, this won't be new to you. Danette uses a strategy all the time to explain and quantify the broader impact a project might have, which at first glance, might seem limited in scope. And Danette will actually be back on our stage in June to do a whole ChatGPT best practices deep dive. So make sure you register for that. I'll share that link at the end. All right, let's talk 990s. You can't do a grant workshop without talking about 990s, right? This is going to be a quick one. Maybe you love 990s, maybe you hate them, but you can get help dissecting them. This one is pretty self-explanatory. You upload the 990 and you go from there. You'll want to train your GPT first to understand where to look and what the most important data points to pull are. But on that note, I want to highlight a very special new Instrumentl feature coming out. Any of you who use Instrumentl or have tried the trial know that Instrumentl houses all 990 data available for funders. Just to distill insights and trends, you probably rely on that funder data section to write aligned proposals. Now we have Apply Advisor coming out. It's a smart writing copilot that can create real-time suggestions and refinements for your proposals based on information it knows about the funder through that very 990 data. So think of this as an advisor looking over your shoulder, pointing out where and how you can more directly align with a funder's priorities or giving history. This is pretty neat. I know there's a lot of Instrumentl users in the room right now. If you're not an Instrumentl user, just ignore this section or try out Instrumentl. But either way, these are all strategies you can apply however you use ChatGPTs or whatever grant platform you're using. Okay, 4. Part of a grant professional's job description that no one really warns you about, right? It's the ability to wrangle scattered and busy teams, colleagues, stakeholders, that herding cats thing. Grant professionals, I think, often spend way too much time tracking down project updates, program stats, that one bio that you need for the application. So AI is really good at helping you prepare for meetings. I actually do this all the time by feeding AI basic context like the proposal you're working on and who's joining the meeting, right? It can help you build an agenda that ensures that you leave with what you need to make the rest of the grant process more of a breeze. So, if you're going to be on a call with the finance team, you can ask ChatGPT to pull up a meeting agenda for you based on, the proposal you're working on and who's going to be in the room with you. All right, here's another quick one. Instead of forwarding a 37-page PDF and hoping your team reads it, drop it into ChatGPT, ask for a one-page summary. You can flag any sections that you know are particularly important to you, or you can even customize these per department. So the one-pager you share with finance might look different than the one you share with leadership, for example. And it's an easy way to align everyone without asking them to decode grant lingo across pages and pages of PDFs. And again, it makes your life easier because you're ensuring you'll get the buy-in and the participation needed to win that grant. And then let's take that same strategy and apply it to the post-award process. Some award letters are 20 pages of legalese, and AI can help pull out the essentials so you know exactly what's expected and by when. I saw somebody way early in the chat said what they use AI for is to decode award letters. So this is exactly what we're talking about here. Compliance is no joke, so I would highly recommend handholding as you train your GPT to do this, just to ensure there's nothing that's being missed. But this is a great way to streamline a part of the journey that, should feel like a celebration, but actually drowns you in reading material for weeks, right? So here's another Instrumentl shout out. We are launching the Award Review Assistant, an AI collaborator trained to recognize and extract all the important parts of an award. It even creates tasks with deadlines based on what's outlined in the agreement, so you can get a holistic view of everything coming up across all teams for this particular award. This is something that's part of our spring launch, going live today. And let's talk about evaluation now. Arguably one of the most challenging parts of any grant proposal. You probably already have some great impact metrics that you're tracking, synthesizing, and using in your reports or your storytelling. You can actually expand this by bringing in AI as a thought partner. And this builds directly on the ripple effect strategy we talked about earlier, like how an after-school program isn't just serving 25 kids, it's also supporting up to 50 guardians and improving workforce participation and creating stability that affects the entire community. AI can help you surface those connections and translate them into evaluation language funders understand, or even strategies for capturing that data. And this isn't about inflating impact, it's about identifying the full scope of value your work brings to the table, because you know that, but maybe it's not emphasized in your actual metrics. So dig deeper, use AI to help you collect new data, explore new angles, build an evaluation narrative that reflects the real wide-reaching impact that your work has. All right, lastly, we can't do an Instrumentl workshop without talking about finding grants. When we're searching for grants, we tend to use the language we know, and that makes sense. But funders aren't always using the same terms, right? So back to my youth programming example. What I call youth empowerment, a funder might describe as career readiness or intergenerational mentoring. It might be super specific, right? And that's where AI becomes another great brainstorm partner. You can give it a description of your program and ask, what are other ways funders might describe this type of work? Or even, what terms should I try searching to find less obvious but relevant opportunities? And this is going to help you expand your visibility and surface funding you might have never found otherwise. And what's super fun is we get to put this into practice right now over the next 5 or so minutes. So if you've never used Instrumentl before, we have a database of over 24,000 active grant opportunities. And folks who use Instrumentl use keywords to search for grants that reflect their work. But here's a very exciting update that is live now. We have a brand new AI-powered keyword generator that scans real-time funding data on the back end and suggests keywords tailored to your project that you might not be thinking of. So it's not just thinking about your core mission. It also considers secondary and tertiary impacts, the kind of language federal funders might be using. So, if a certain term is now banned, but the grant actually still supports that without explicitly saying it, Instrumentl's pulling that in because we have a very human team manually tagging grants. So we know that we're getting the keywords right. So we're going to test it live right now. If you already use Instrumentl, open up your workspace. You're going to see the new field of work generator right in your platform. If you're brand new, I'll walk you through setup in the next 3 minutes. Since we're in Instrumentl, once you generate those keywords, you'll also instantly get matched with hundreds of live grant opportunities. But if you already have a different grant platform you love, that there's no problem. This is a totally free trial. You're not like signing up for any long-term commitment at all. And you can just take the keywords that you generate today with you and plug them into your own process or whatever platform you use for grant searches if you're not using Instrumentl. So go ahead and click that link that Rachel has put in the chat. If you already use Instrumentl, go ahead and open up your Instrumentl. And if you've had a free trial before, and you want to take this chance to get in there again and just try our new AI keyword generator, you can fill out this form. You won't be able to get into the trial just yet, but we will have somebody reach out to you. So you're going to see a screen like this. You're going to hit try 14 days free. Like I said, there's no long-term commitment here. There's no credit card required. You're literally signing up for a workshop trial, and you'll have access to it for 2 weeks after. And while we're waiting for folks to catch up here, what you're going to need for this exercise is a project description. So a paragraph, a couple sentences explaining the project you're fundraising for, what the work you're doing is, and some of the intended outcomes. So this is probably something you can pull from your website or past grant materials. Just pull together, 10 or so sentences. And I'm actually going to share my screen and show you how I set this up. So I'm over here in the project setup. If you're currently using Instrumentl, you would go into one of your existing projects and you would just hit edit project. And so for those of you who are following along right now, y'all can see my screen, right? Yes. So here's my project name. I'm going to stick with the youth programming theme. And here's what we do. We just tell it what we're fundraising for. Like I said, I have here a couple sentences about the work. So before and after school programming for elementary age children, whoa. We're also supporting families by connecting them to local economic assistance programs and community resources, yada, yada, yada. So I put that in here. And then what happens is I generated keyword suggestions. So if you have Instrumentl open right now, you can do the same. You'll put in your own project description. You'll hit generate keyword suggestions, and it's going to give you some keywords here that it thinks you should be using when you're looking for grants. So we can see immediately the first one it pulled up is nutrition and healthy eating, which to me isn't immediately like, oh, that's the grant I should be going after. But because I talk about providing children with food and resources, it's picking up that, nutrition and healthy eating grants might apply to me. If I want to be really picky with it, I can get rid of nutrition and healthy eating. I'm like, I don't think that one's going to land, but it's cool that it flagged that for me, right? Family services is an important one. Parental involvement in education. These are all keywords that I don't necessarily think of as traditional keywords to be searching for when I'm looking for grants. Career and college preparation. I might not be thinking about career preparation because this is youth programming. But first of all, we're helping parents. And second of all, it is preparing children for careers. Then some of the obvious ones like education, academic success, basic human needs is an important one. There are a lot of grants out there that go to covering basic human needs, and that includes things like food and resources. And because part of our programming provides that, I can flag that here as well. So I'll just select a couple that I feel like are interesting. You can always hit regenerate to see if it comes back with anything different. And you can also play around with your project description. If you feel like it's not really getting to the core of what you do, try adding a little bit more information. And then you'll hit next. And then we're going to just answer a couple more questions about our project. So for my situation, I'm a nonprofit. I'm partnering with a school. I am not a faith-based organization, but if you are, this is where you would indicate that. So I'm going to click no here. I'm saying that my project takes place in a specific county in Florida. This way it's showing me grants that are national in scope, it's showing me grants in Florida, and it's also showing me grants that are only for my specific county. So the more detailed you get, the better. It's going to pull all of the applicable grants for you. And then you can indicate the size of funding you're looking for. So I'm not looking for anything over 500,000 right now. Let's just assume. Like I don't want to have to handle the post-award process for a grant that big. And then I'll select all of the things I'm looking to fund. I'm not building anything right now, so no capital projects this time, but I am looking for general operating, select what works for you. And then what kind of funders would you like to see grants from? Maybe federal is a little bit tricky right now. You're like, I'm going to hold on federal for a bit. So you can uncheck that. You're going to hit save and exit, and that's it. You've now generated keywords that you can take back to your grant search, whether you're on Instrumentl or you're just using Google or you're using any other grant platform, and you've found grant matches. So you see, I just got matched with 394 active grants based on the information I filled out. For any of you who just opened up Instrumentl for the first time, like I said, you are going to have access to that for the next 2 weeks to play around with. So we're nearing the top of the hour here, so let's recap what we just talked about. There are so many ways AI can come into your grant journey. Here are just a few of the ones we discussed. I'm not going to go through all of them because we are short on time. But before we dive headfirst into this AI thing, we have to consider our team. Are they ready to adopt a new tool? Are there any concerns that should be addressed as a group, right? If you're working with other folks on the grant journey, you want to get buy-in across the board. We need to look at our systems as a whole. Does AI fit into the broader process and does it align well with other tools you're using for grants? For example, if you don't have a sustainable way to find new grant opportunities, then diving into ChatGPT optimization for grant writing might not be your top priority just yet. Maybe you need to have a more sustainable way to actually source grant opportunities. And then you have to look at your strategy. Why are you using AI? If the strategies we covered today stood out to you as something you could implement in your workflow, that's a good sign. You want to be sure there's a rhyme and reason for leaning into AI, as with any new tool or process. So here's that quick 3-question checklist. You can screenshot this to circle back with your team or clients and just make sure that, you're starting to integrate AI effectively and with good reason. All right, I'm gonna have to skip over this because we are short on time. Before I do our housekeeping, I'm about to share some information about our raffle. I know all of you all are sticking around for that, but I want to give a huge shout out to Meredith for hopping in here and giving so much good wisdom. All this AI banter that we just went through. Meredith, thank you for being game to hop in and just share everything you've learned in this time that you've been building AI tools. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's so fun. I love presenting with you guys. Instrumental is the best. Love it.
Thank you, Meredith. And to enter into today's raffle, all you have to do is fill out the feedback form that will automatically pop up when you exit out of today's event. For folks watching on YouTube, you will get the link in the chat box there. For anybody who's on Zoom, when you exit this webinar, there will be a feedback form that pops up. You just have to fill that out, and that's your entry. But you can get a second raffle entry. So to do that, you just have to go to Instrumentl's latest LinkedIn post. Rachel just put the link right there in the chat. Just go to that post and leave a comment letting us know what new AI strategy you're going to try out first, what you're going to level up in, what stood out to you. Just leave a comment there and that'll give you a bonus raffle entry for the Learn Grant Writing AI Besties course. And we're going to announce the winner this week. And with that, I just want to shout out some of our upcoming events. We do have more AI events on the docket. We have one coming up on May 13th. That one's going to be all about custom GPTs, everything you need for grant writing. It's a really quick 1 hour long workshop just to continue to build those foundational skills. But we have other non-AI events as well for any of our healthcare folks in the room. If you work at hospitals, clinics, anything like that, providing healthcare, we have a workshop just for you next week. So I'd love to see you there. And with that, can you believe it? I actually wrapped us up 3 minutes early. I went so rapid fire. All right, I'm gonna stick around for 3 minutes just to, you know, share this space with y'all a little bit longer. But anybody who has to jump off, thanks for being here. It was great to talk all things AI with you. If you can't tell, me and Meredith, we get excited by AI. We've bought into it. It took a while.
Yeah.
I was also on this in the same boat last year where I thought, AI is useful, but and now I'm like, I'm all in on AI.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, figure out that I agree. And I'm honestly like I'm not a diehard. I think that's the thing that most people don't probably would find surprising. I just feel like, yeah, this is an interesting skill I want to build. Like we all have skills we're chronically building in our professionally, but I'm not like, I'm gonna die on the AI hill. I just feel like it's an important skill to build.
I totally agree. There was a question in the chat that said, "What was your tipping point, Nia?" I think that's a really funny way
Oh,
to, really funny way to phrase that. I think for me, my tipping point was when I started to build AI tools, not just for certain tasks at work, but things that could streamline just like my day to day. When I realized like the time I was winning back, like I used to have an hour blocked on my schedule to do this certain task.
mm-hmm.
And I put in 3 or 4 hours building a really good AI system where that task now takes 7 minutes once a week. And for me, as soon as I did that for one thing, I was like,
Yeah, it changes everything. You
it
just need those
changed my life.
wins. Yeah, rad. Well, thanks everybody. It was so great. I hope I caught some of the questions, but I think we really have to just contact Zoom and tell them to let us add replies to comments and emojis
I'm there.
because
I
that
agree.
was kind of challenging. I tried to answer all the questions as they were coming up, but yeah,
And
it was
y'all
great.
can see in the chat, Meredith has put a link for the AI Besties course and
Mhm.
discount code Instrumental.
Instrumental. I feel like everyone can remember that, right? So
All right. Thank you
love
so
it.
much, y'all.
Yay.
It was so great to have you in the room with us today.